And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unfiltered Report. My name is Ryan. Hope everyone's doing having a great week so far. We are going to recap day 5 of the World Cup. Can't wait for day 6 as well. Going to be a great day. Uh, 2 more days of match day 1 of the group stages. And then it's match day 2. If you can hardly believe it, I sure can't. Time is just chugging along, it's moving along. But before we get to day 6 and day 7 of the World Cup, and we get into match day 2, day 5 of the World Cup, in my opinion, best day of the World Cup so far, you could argue. Each day it seems it's getting better and better, and I'd anticipate day 6 will continue that trend. But we're going to kick things off with Spain and Cape Verde. Uh, it goes without saying that Spain were heavy favorites heading into this match. Spain are one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to hoist the trophy on July 19th at MetLife. Spain historically haven't always been the best in their first match, but I think most people would have expected for Spain to take care of business, regardless of how much they were able to get out of Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. Those two came off the bench, did not start. Lamine Yamal came on in the 71st minute. Nico Williams came on the 87th minute. 87th minute. Um, but listen, all the credit in the world to Cape Verde. Uh, they put on a historic defensive clinic. We mentioned one of the similar themes of the tournament is 10 behind the ball, defending like there's 20 of you out there playing as a unit. Defending is an art form. Being able to close down gaps, being able to cover for one another. It takes a lot of tactical discipline to be able to execute something like that. It does require a little bit of luck too, but a lot of it really is just you have football is really tactically is the one sport that you can really hang on for dear life like that, and you can't really do that in American football. It's hard to do that in basketball, but in the global game, especially in an international tournament, not a club season, but in an international tournament, part of the reason why there's more parity within these international tournaments as opposed to the club season is because in the short form tournament and it's the most beautiful thing uh to see upsets, shocking results. It's what makes the sport beautiful. If everything just went according to script, there would be no point. And as much as we want to celebrate uh you know the stars and the glitz and the glamour, the beauty of the World Cup is you get moments like this that regardless of what happens for Cape Verde and the rest of the tournament, they've already won in my opinion. They've already, regardless of what happens in match day 2 and 3, they should feel an immense amount of pride. The people of Cape Verde should be so happy and so proud. The players, the support staff, the managers, they all deserve nothing but love and praise for what they were able to accomplish on the pitch, being able to hold Spain to a nil-nil draw. Like I mentioned, they defended like hell for the entirety of the match. They really didn't have a singular. They had only really one chance the entire match, and that came in stoppage time of the second half when they actually got a pretty clean header. And that was really the only legitimate chance that they had. It was the only shot on target they had the entire match. Um, they really had no threat going forward, but they were resolute in defense, especially, regardless of who was on the pitch for Spain. Once Lamine Yamal came on, obviously you could tell, he came on and did his thing. and they immediately had to put 2 or 3 guys on them and mitigate that, but they put in an absolute shift defensively. Spain had 27 shots, 7 on target. Cape Verde's keeper, Vozinha, already one of the breakout stars of the tournament, the 40-year-old in goal. Um, but beyond Vozinha, I think the ten players in front of him deserve a ton of love, nothing but respect for all those guys and what they were able to do. Look, Spain dominated the ball. They dominated the majority of the chances. The ball was in Cape Verde's half pretty much the entire match, like we mentioned. But the longer that match went on and it was 0-0, the more you could feel, hey, Cape Verde can really fucking do this thing. And that's what they did. They held on and they got a point out of this. But you know what? Even though they drew, I mean, that's a win for Cape Verde 10 times out of 10. You could see how much it meant to the players, the exhaustion, the emotion, how much it meant to the traveling support in Atlanta. Just a remarkable accomplishment for Cape Verde. Nothing but respect for them. And I honestly can't wait to see what happens for them. Match day 2 on Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific against Uruguay. That match against Uruguay is going to be in Miami. We'll get to Uruguay in a second, and we'll get to Saudi Arabia as well. And then match day 3, Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, Friday, June 26th. And then that match will be in Houston, Texas at NRG Stadium, home of the Houston Texans. But regardless of what happens in those 2 matches, Cape Verde, those guys are going to get a hero's welcome whenever they go back to Cape Verde. Uh, we mentioned diaspora many times already. John Strong brought up the diaspora of the Cape Verde squad. Uh, One of the themes of the tournament as well, diaspora. But shout out to Cape Verde. And then if you're Spain, look, I know, uh, a lot of people might overreact to this and say, "Oh, are Spain frauds? Are they going to crash out in the group stages?" No, I think they'll be fine. We mentioned historically, outside of the 7-0 match against Costa Rica, they had in the previous World Cup. They're typically a side that it takes them a little bit to kick into high gear. Obviously, they will go as far as the health of Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. They'll need those guys to be able to play as close to a full 90 as they can. Uh, they obviously were not equipped to do that in the match against Cape Verde, but as the tournament progresses, uh, you would hope that they're able to, build up their fitness, be able to play more minutes. And Spain, Luis de la Fuente mentioned it himself after the match and said, "Look, we're looking at this as an 8-match tournament for us. This doesn't take away from our mission and our goals. We'll make the adjustments necessary. We'll get everything right. We'll have more players at the ready and be able to have more flexibility in that aspect. I think Spain will be fine. I wouldn't panic at one bit. They, even with the sky falling, look, they got a point out of it. And when we talk about Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, those 2 sides did them a favor as well. Um, so look, I still think Spain are the favorite to top the group. They'll definitely make it out of the group. I'd be shocked if they don't. But regardless of what happens in this group, and however it plays out for both sides, Cape Verde take a bow. Uh, I mean, what a result, what a performance for them. But moving on to the other match in Group H, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, um, and then Group G. We'll go chronologically here, actually, because I think it will be able to piggyback it that way. Well, actually, yeah, we'll start with the Group G match. This match was in Seattle, between Belgium and Egypt. Uh, this was a very similar a match to Saudi Arabia Uruguay when we talk about that. And what I mean by that is in the first half, uh, Egypt, I think, were the far better side. They were much more comfortable within the match. They took the lead in the first half, rightfully deserved. Uh, it was a great goal that they were able to score. Um, they were the better side in the first half. Belgium really struggled. Imam Ashur in the 20th minute opened up the scoring, and there was it was a pretty well attended match too. It was great support for both sides. Um, Out there on what was the hottest day in Seattle so far in the year 2026. Um, but it was a great match, and Egypt, like I mentioned in the first half, they were the better side. They were well deserved in taking a 1-0 lead, and they were able to maintain that heading into the second half. In the second half, however, I felt that Belgium grew into the match, and they were the far better side in the second half. Romelu Lukaku came on in the 66th minute, and not even 30 seconds of him coming onto the pitch. Uh, it wasn't he didn't directly score the goal, and it ends up being a Mohamed Hani own goal in the 66th minute. But that goal was entirely created by the presence of Romelu Lukaku. Um, so you want to talk about instant impact? We talked about Kyle Aaron the other day, and him scoring off a nasty deflection very shortly after coming onto the match. Romelu Lukaku came on, and even quicker than Kyle Aaron, was able to help Belgium level the scoring. Belgium were a bit unlucky not to get a second too. But all in all, I felt that this was a well deserved draw for both sides. Like I mentioned, I think Egypt were the better side in the first half. Belgium were the better side in the second half. I think, obviously, I'm sure both sides would have preferred the 3 points. But all things considered, I think a draw is a fair result. And I think moving forward for both sides, Belgium's got Iran on Sunday at SoFi Stadium, and then Egypt have New Zealand on Sunday. That match is at 6 p.m., and that match is in Vancouver. So I can't wait for both of those matches on Sunday. But all in all, it was I would say, a fair draw. Um, you know, Coming into this group, I think most people would have favored Belgium to top the group, but I think the caveat in that is I think of the quote unquote pot one teams, Belgium definitely on the weaker end of that. So I think if you're Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand, you would have fancied that draw, and you would have been very happy with that draw. Um, and I think this match showed that, this group in many ways is up for grabs, and it could really go any way, 1 through 4. We'll get to the second match of Group G between Iran and New Zealand. But before we do that, we'll go back to the second match in Group H between Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. Similar, as we mentioned, Saudi Arabia, I felt, were the better side in the first half. They were credit to them. Uh, they didn't have a ton of the ball, but maybe similar to some of these other sides that we've mentioned, that don't have as much possession of the ball. Especially in the first half, I felt that Saudi Arabia were quite comfortable on the ball. They were able to string together a couple of passes, slow the match down a little bit, give themselves an opportunity to collect their breath and set things up tactically. Um, and 40 in the 41st minute, credit to them, they were able to open the scoring and take, in many ways, what was a well-deserved opening, a well-deserved lead, and they went up 1-0. But similar to the Egypt and Belgium match, Uruguay came out in the second half, and they really started to apply the pressure. This match was in Miami, and you want to talk about atmospheres. I mean, the Uruguayan supporters were at full force. They really took over that stadium. Not to say that there wasn't Saudi support as well, but there was a huge sea of Uruguayan supporters in Miami. We mentioned they're going to have another match in Miami, um, and that's going to be right back on match day 2 on Sunday, and then when Uruguay plays Spain on match day 3, That match will be in Guadalajara, Mexico. Um, so look, shout out to Uruguay in the second half. They really, in many ways, were unfortunate to not score more than they did. Araujo scored in the 80th minute. In the second half, we mentioned in the first half that Saudi Arabia were much more comfortable on the ball in the first half. In the second half, they were hanging on for dear life, and the match statistics back that up. The man of the match, in many ways, I mean, we mentioned Vozinha and Cape Verde. I felt with Vozinha, more credit, really. I mean, credit to him, but I felt that the 10 in front of him really deserve a lot of the love and praise for how they were able to defend and close down space against Spain. But in this case, Mohammed Alawais of Saudi Arabia, I mean, he was the man of the match. And I think you can make the argument that I mean, the keeper performance of the tournament so far, 10 saves for him. I mean, and I think about half of those were remarkable saves. It was the match of his life in many ways. I mean, he was remarkable. If it wasn't for him, like I said, I think Uruguay will feel a little bit undone that they weren't able to get the 3 points, especially for the amount of chances that they would create and quality chances that they were able to create in the second half. 27 shots, 10 on target. But Mohamed Alawais, man of the match, in my opinion, and did a remarkable job in helping Saudi Arabia get a another World Cup with the huge result. We mentioned before that they had the historic result against the World Cup champions Argentina in match day one of the previous World Cup in Qatar, and another really great result for them. They'll be incredibly happy to take a point from this. I think Spain will be incredibly relieved that this match was a draw. Basically, everybody in this group is going to be level on points heading into match day two with a point each. And it gives Spain a little bit of a sigh of relief, knowing that they can still top the group. But again, big result for Saudi Arabia. I think if you're Saudi Arabia, getting a point in a match like this is huge because now, if you're Saudi Arabia, obviously they're going to try to get a point and a result similar to what Cape Verde were able to do against Spain. And then that sets up match day three against Cape Verde, where if you're the Saudi Arabia, you're looking at that. If they can get 3 points in that match, uh, they can find themselves out of the group stages and into the knockout rounds. With Uruguay, the big question with them is going to be can they convert on these chances, which is a similar theme throughout this tournament. As much as we talk about teams sitting behind the ball, 10 behind the ball, closing up space and making it really hard for these quote unquote bigger sides or sides with more well known players, really making life difficult on them. And I think if you're Uruguay, the big question is just going to be where the goal is going to come from. Are they going to be able to convert on the chances that they could create? Um, but credit to Saudi Arabia for hanging on for a draw. And credit to Uruguay for ramping it up in the second half and really growing into that match and making the necessary adjustments that were needed in order to get at least the result in that match. And then we move on to Group G with Iran and New Zealand. In our previous recording, we touched a little bit on some of it, but not a lot. Look, heading into this match, there was a ton of uncertainty on the Iran side of things, especially what was the support going to look like within the stadium. The largest uh, Persian population in the world outside of Iran is in Southern California. There's been a lot of people talking about Tehrangelis in the last couple of days, but it's well beyond Tehrangelis. I mean, you go down throughout Southern California, even Northern California. There's a large community within the United States, within California, Southern California specifically. So when the draw came out, my first thought before any of the other stuff off the pitch really came to fruition was, the Persians are going to take over SoFi Stadium back to back matches, and even in Seattle as well, and they're going to show out, be loud, be proud. There was, because of all the off the pitch stuff that's been going on, there was a lot of question marks about whether that would still remain to be the case. But once the ball kicked off, you could feel the energy in the stands. You could feel the support in similar ways that they've had in previous World Cups, whether it was Qatar, Russia, or Brazil in 2014. And the community really showed out. Obviously, there were protests outside the stadium. There were just like in any country, there are different religious beliefs, different political beliefs. Iran is no different. So I was very interested to see how that atmosphere was going to play out, but the people showed out. And then on the pitch, Iran have had members of their support staff, the president of the federation denied visa entry. Um, there was a lot of talk before the match from the manager, from the players, talking about how they're not politicians; they're just football players. They're here to unite people. I think that you could sense in the pressers, whether it was from Mehdi Taremi or Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh or whoever got up to the podium and spoke, you could feel that there was a little bit of, Taremi himself has said a lot in the last couple of days. I mean, heading into the match, he's on record saying that, uh, unlike previous World Cups, they didn't really feel the welcomeness and the joy. And this is all before the match that there was a lot of, there were a lot of factors working against them. The manager of Iran echoed similar sentiments. Um, we can even in the presser the night before the match. Um, I mean, I'll pull up a couple of quotes. Uh, I mentioned Mehdi Taremi. Quote, "We don't have the same beautiful experience. We always talk about the peace, the joy, the sensation that people have looking forward to the World Cup. I think this time maybe they didn't have the same experience. This kind of tension, it undermines that joy. It undermines the message of FIFA." The manager of Iran on the eve of the match even uh, said, "This kind of behavior will negatively impact the spirit of football, whether we win, whether we lose. This is a difficult feeling." Um, Furthermore, some other quotes. Uh, Even before the match, they confirmed their itinerary beforehand that they were going to have to return to their base in Tijuana after the match on Monday. Taremi also said, "I would like to say that we respect all Iranians, be it the Iranians who are inside the country or outside. We're here to play football, and football can always unite all factions." The manager of Iran said, quote, "I am very happy to be representing the strong and proud nation of Iran. I hope that football will bring about joy and enjoyment and will bring closer cultures and countries. And I hope the World Cup will go well despite the travel problems we had." Taremi actually, in his closing remarks, said, quote, "Nobody asked football related questions. We have high respect for New Zealand and we hope it will be a good game." And you know what? Good game it was. You can make the argument it was one of the matches of the tournament. Uh, I give a lot of credit to New Zealand. I think, I don't put any stock into FIFA rankings, but they're the lowest ranked side in the FIFA rankings. But look, credit to them. They came out and they scored in the 7th minute. Chris Wood was able to secure the ball, played it into Elijah Just, who was able to put it past the keeper, Ali Reza Fond, and New Zealand took a early opener in the 7th minute. I was really interested to see how the Iran team was going to be able to respond to that with all of the factors that we just mentioned, the fact that they've had these visa issues, the travel issues, the fact that they had to move their base to Tijuana, the fact that they have to leave on the same day, all these different factors that we could go. I mean, we could be here for hours talking about it. I was really interested to see how they would bounce back from that. Uh, Conceding in an early fashion that they did. But credit to them. Ramin Rezaian, who for Iran was probably most definitely the man of the match. Um, he was able to level the scoring in the 32nd minute. Uh, Mehdi Taremi had a really great chance before that. Uh, we mentioned him in our previous recording in 2018. He came about a half an inch away from sending Iran to the knockout rounds against Portugal. Um, in match day three against the United States in stoppage time, he had a great chance that fell to him, and both of those occasions, I'm sure, uh, if you simulate that 100 times, he puts that in the back of the net more often than not. But both times he wasn't able to score for one reason or another. In this uh, particular match, he hit the woodwork. Came about I mean, came as close as he can to scoring a goal without scoring a goal. But Mehdi Taremi has long been, uh, you know, one of, if not Iran's best player. One of their best players, Sardar Azmoun, was not even included in the squad, and that's because he posted a picture with the leader of the UAE, which the Iran government decried that and condemned him for that, and as a result, wasn't included within the squad, despite the fact that he was a part of the previous two World Cups. Uh, so it was a bit unfortunate not to have Azmoun in the squad, but most everybody else from previous World Cups, we mentioned, they were there in some capacity. They had some new faces as well, players that hadn't played in previous tournaments. For all the players that they have that were playing within the domestic league of Iran, the domestic league in Iran, due to the conflict in Iran with the United States and Israel, they were not able to play domestic league matches from February onwards. So for a lot of these guys, it was their first competitive non-friendly match in about 4 months. Um, but despite all of these different things, like I mentioned, I was interested to see how they would bounce back. When Ramin Rezayan was able to equalize, you know, uh, I don't, shout a shot of adrenaline for me. Fired up watching the match. I mentioned, I don't think I've been that invested in a match in a long time. Um, Regardless of the sport, when they equalize, you're thinking, okay, there we go. Let's go get those 3 points, baby. But then, similar to the first half, 9 minutes into the second half, Elijah Just again was able to put one past Ali Reza Van. Um, Credit to Elijah Just. I mean, him and Ramin Rezayan were the two men of the match. They were the two men of the match last night. Elijah Just puts New Zealand up 2-1. And then in the 64th minute, we mentioned Ramin Rezayan. He was able to put in a beautiful ball in that Mohammed Mohebi was able to equalize. The Rostov man mentioned Sardar Azmoun. Azmoun used to play at Rostov back in the day. I remember when Rostov in Russia, when they were able to qualify for the Champions League, which was a big deal back then for such a small club, and they played Bayern Munich in the Champions League. I remember Asmoon scored in that match, one of my favorite club matches that I watched in my life. That was way back when. I think that was damn near 10 years ago when that happened. But Mohammed Mohebi, the Rostov man, leveled the scoring 2-2. At that point, it was just a matter of whether one of those two sides was going to be able to get the 3 points. I think after Iran equalized, they were probably the more likely side to get the 3 points than New Zealand. But I give a ton of credit to New Zealand for being able to get a result out of that match. Um, I tip my cap to them in many ways. In previous recordings, we touched on it a little bit that in the previous three World Cups, Carlos Queiroz, who is now the manager of Ghana, who will be playing on the last day of match day one against Panama. Um, Carlos Queiroz is I mean, I don't want to say he's the forefather of 10 behind the ball, but I mean, Iran were doing that. We mentioned 2014 against Argentina, 2018, 2022. They sat back, they absorbed pressure. That was how they approached all three of those World Cups, and this is the first World Cup that Iran played without him, and you could see the stylistic contrast. There was a lot more open space on the pitch than any of the previous 3 World Cups, for Iran. I mean, I think it goes without saying, I don't think New Zealand would have scored in my opinion, I'm not sure New Zealand would have scored twice had Carlos Queiroz been there. Um, but you know what? I said it for those previous 3 World Cups off the record. I said it last night. Um, I would much rather they go for it and try to take the 3 points than sit back and just pray that they get a result. So I look, as much as I don't know if they would have conceded twice against New Zealand. I mean, I guess there's really no way of knowing. I'm not sure that they would have been able to put 2 back, being down a goal each in each half. But I give a ton of credit to the players. They could have easily, after going down 1-0 or going down 2-0, they could have easily, said, "Hey, you know what? This is not our tournament. There's so many factors going against us," but they fought hard. Obviously, I think Iran would have loved 3 points, especially with Belgium and Egypt getting a point each. It was a huge opportunity to be on top of the group after match day 1 against the New Zealand side that heading into the tournament, you felt that they needed the 3 points. I think after last night, I think maybe it's a little bit of optimism or maybe whatever it may be. But I think despite the fact that they did get the 3 points, which was a big blow, I think all things considered, a draw is not the end of the world. I think had they lost that match, it would have been the worst case scenario, obviously, and I think they would have been it would have been a really tough for them to make it out of the group. But my hope is I hope that heading into Sunday against Belgium, again, this is a little bit of bias, obviously, as much as I try to stay objective in analyzing all these matches, the bias part of me hopes that the atmosphere is 15,000 times loud, more loud than it was against New Zealand, and that the support is able to carry them to some form of a result against Belgium, whether it's another draw or 3 points. Obviously, Iran's going to need they're going to need 3 points. You would have to imagine, or 3 draws. They're going to need results in these next two matches in order to make it out of the group stages for the first time. Like I mentioned before the tournament, before any other thing, I think I felt that this was finally an opportunity for them to make it out of the group, even without the third place side caveat, because I felt that this was a more favorable draw for them. Obviously, this was before a lot of the other factors that we've mentioned. But again, as much as would have loved the 3 points, the sky's not falling. And I give a ton of credit to New Zealand. I think it would be really cool to see New Zealand find a way to make it out of the group as well. Honestly, objectively speaking, if Iran don't make it out, I wouldn't be upset if New Zealand make it through. Uh, I tip my cap to them. They played far better than I think most people would have expected them to play. Again, I mentioned Elijah just being able to score not only 1 but 2, which puts him in an early tie in the Golden Boot race. I tip my cap to New Zealand, and I wish them nothing but the best against Egypt and Belgium. Just as I wish Belgium and Egypt all the best as well. I think that's the beauty of sport. Obviously, you want to compete, but part of competition is you have to respect the opposition, and I respect New Zealand and what they were able to do. Um, so another group in which all 4 sides are level on a point each. I did mention that there were some comments after the match from the manager of Iran and Mehdi Taremi. Um, I'll just share those quotes. There were a couple that I felt were rather noteworthy. Obviously, you don't really get a lot out of press conferences, but sometimes you do. And so the manager of Iran said, "quote called his team perhaps quote the most oppressed team in the whole World Cup. after they were made to leave Los Angeles and head back to Tijuana same night. He began the press conference by expressing uh, the unhappiness in that front. And obviously, we mentioned they had to move their base camp from Arizona to Tijuana. Uh, they traveled on Sunday to Los Angeles, but they had to come back Monday night. Also, I mentioned Mehdi Torabi, his visa expired after the match, and so there's some uncertainty if he's going to be able to even be a part of the rest of the tournament. The manager said, quote, "We spent so much time in the air commuting, they didn't even give us time to recover. After the game today, they said to us, 'You have to leave immediately.' It's very important for us to have time for our recovery, but we've been told to return to our camp in Tijuana, and we are really troubled by that. Quote, I think perhaps our team is the most oppressed team in the whole World Cup." Gianni Infantino was actually in the locker room uh, on match day. I think there's video of Gianni Infantino addressing the players, talking to the players. Mehdi Taremi said, quote, "For sure, he wants to try to help us, but it's about other things too. Everyone knows it. I don't need to mention that because you know where we are. I think FIFA has to help us more than this. Let's see what happens in the future." Both Taremi and the manager expressed frustration that the president of Iran's Football Federation, along with other members of the team's support staff, were prevented from traveling to the U.S. Taremi, quote, "Everything is a disaster for us." White House Task Force Director uh, Andrew Giuliani, son of Rudy, said, quote, I think that the United States has been more than fair. We've gotten visas for all 31 of the players, gotten visas for every coach, so that way there can be competitive imbalance. So I would respond by saying that they're welcome for our hospitality. He also said there were visas revoked by the State Department. The manager of Iran did say, quote, "There were many Iranians here. They believe in different political affiliations, different beliefs, but they all wholeheartedly encouraged us. And I think that's a victory for all of us." Uh, there was some talk before the tournament that FIFA was going to ban the pre revolutionary flag. People brought them anyways. So you saw both flags, both the current flag and the previous flag of Iran. And you saw them throughout the match, especially after both goals. Uh, Mohammed Mohebi said, quote, "I wanted to say thank you to the Iranians who live in Los Angeles. They make a great atmosphere in the game." There were some other quotes as well that I believe, if you'll allow me the opportunity. Um, I just have to give me a second here. So Mehdi Taremi had also mentioned that the team endured 5 hours of travel and security checks. For anybody out there who has not made the trek from Tijuana to Los Angeles, it typically does not take 5 hours. Uh, Manager of Iran said, quote, "We don't know why they are returning us. To be honest, I think it's very strange. It seems like others are doing the planning for us. The decision making for us is being made elsewhere. We were supposed to come 2 nights before the game, and we were supposed to stay tonight to recover and return tomorrow at lunchtime. We have no idea why." The United States responded to that and said that Iran's federation had agreed to the terms beforehand. Taremi said, "We have to leave Los Angeles right now, and it's not good for us." I mentioned, he said, "I think FIFA have to help us more than this. Everything is like a disaster, actually, for us." The manager of Iran said several players developed cramps during the game, which was played in mild conditions. He attributed the injury problems to the lack of proper preparation time caused by these uh, bureaucratic and diplomatic obstacles that we've mentioned. Quote, "Before the game, I said we haven't had time to adjust because of the travel. Many of our players, they had cramps, and that's why we had to substitute them." I'll make a quick interjection that Taremi was one of those players who was subbed off. Um, so it wasn't for technical reasons, he goes on to say, that we made substitutions. It was because of the injury and because of the cramp. They will be examined on Tuesday by our technical staff, but the fact that they have delayed our arrivals and they are forcing us to go back early without time for recovery, they are making the situation more difficult. So Taremi also said, quote, "It was an incredible atmosphere in the game, all 90 minutes. It was like at home for us." Apparently, there was some online controversy of Mohammed Mohabi's celebration, which I guess he did some kind of gun shooting gesture under D'Angelo Russell, ice in his veins. Uh, but he did, again, he said, quote, "That celebration, it comes in the mind. And I did like this," motioning to his arm with with the celebration, especially the ice in the veins for all the fans, just the celebration. It should also be noted that he put a heart up afterwards, which was not listed in a lot of the reporting of this quote unquote controversy. Um, it was great to see after the match that players from both sides, Iran and New Zealand, embraced each other. They shook hands. There was at least one jersey swap. The players walked around. They applauded the supporters in the stands. Um, Lastly, the manager of Iran, quote, "We're facing more hurdles, but we're not going to let that stop us from doing our best. I think today was one of the best games in the World Cup so far, and I think the fans really enjoyed it inside the stadium and outside the stadium." So all I'll say is I hope on Sunday back at SoFi Stadium, I hope there are even more Persians out there showing the best of the culture. I will continue to root for the team, not because I'm rooting for the government of Iran, but because I'm rooting for the people, not only inside of Iran, but outside, within, across the globe. I hope that they're able to find their way out of the group stages. But more than anything, I just hope that the people are proud to be. I hope the people are proud to be Persian, obviously, of the Iranian community. And I hope that regardless of what happens on the pitch, I hope that in the stands, not only on Sunday in SoFi, but on match day 3 in Seattle against Egypt, which that match is going to be Friday, June 26th at 8 p.m. My hope is that the community continues to show out inside the stadium, outside the stadium, throughout the world at watch parties or in the cozy confines of their homes and showcase the best of the culture, and the best of the people, and showcase to the world that the people are much more than the government and that they're not affiliated with the government and that we're a proud people, who want nothing but the best, not only for Iran, but for the world. So we'll continue to monitor that, see how it plays out. But again, credit to both sides. As objectively as I can speak about it, I give a ton of credit to New Zealand, and I also give a lot of credit to Iran for being able to battle back, being down a goal in each half, and at least take a point out of the match and give themselves a chance in match day 2 and 3 to find a way out of the group. So look, this group is going to be up for grabs. 1 through 4 could go any which way, in my opinion. I think if New Zealand are able to play the way that they were able to play, they're going to be a tough out. Um, we'll see how we'll see what happens. I mentioned, Carlos Queiroz is no longer there, so we'll see how it goes against Belgium and Egypt, where they'll be a bit more open. Uh, they might concede a couple of times against both sides, but really for them, it's just going to be mitigating the damage and being able to find a way to get 3 points if possible in one of those matches, or at the very least, find a draw in one of those matches to give themselves a chance, to make it out of the group stages. But look, with the look ahead to day 6 of the World Cup, we've got France and Senegal. Shout out to Malik Aleleblu. Can't wait to hear what he's got, about that match and the Iraq Norway match as well afterwards. Argentina, Algeria, the defending champs Argentina open up their World Cup defense campaign against Algeria. That match is going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. One of the things I thought was funny was before the Iran match against New Zealand, they had Rob Stone with Clarence Seedorf and Peter Schmeichel, and he was talking about chimichurri sauce or something like that with Argentina, and he said, "Hey, we're in Kansas City, baby." So they brought out a big rack of ribs with some fries, and it's like, "This is how we do it in America. Don't hold the tray. I'm gonna hold the tray. You guys eat this damn barbecue." I thought that was kind of, I don't know. If I look credit, I don't even know if it's credit. I don't know. I guess that was part of the pregame coverage heading into the Iran New Zealand match. But when we mentioned Kansas City, obviously Kansas City barbecue, and I guess Rob Stone and Fox took that literally. And today we're going to show these guys some Kansas City barbecue. Maybe one of these days we'll have to have a debate about where the best barbecue is in the United States, whether it's in the South, whether it's Texas, Louisiana, is it Kansas City, is it in the Carolinas? I would love to have that debate. As someone who is a barbecue enthusiast, you could bury me in barbecue sauce one day. I love barbecue. I love barbecue sauce. I put that shit on anything. For those of you who know me, you've seen me do it, and some people have looked at me like I'm crazy. But you know what? Barbecue sauce on anything. So I would love to have a barbecue sauce conversation one of these days, and just barbecue in general. And if anyone out there across the United States, because there's a lot of places in the United States I've never been to Texas, only the airport in Texas, but never actually within Texas. I've never been to Kansas City, never been to the Carolinas. I would love to go to all of these different places in the United States. Uh, I would love to have some people come on here and not only debate the best barbecues as far as states, but name some places out there, or maybe even tailgates. Whether it's college football on a lot, and say, yeah, this college football team does the best barbecue. This restaurant does the best barbecue. This state, this city. I would love to have that debate. And I would love to talk about food more on here, to be honest with you. It's something I would love to do in future recordings. Uh, Not just what tastes good and what doesn't, but what actually goes into your food. Uh, all these different things. I would hope people will hold me to that, and not only have some positive conversations about food, but some tough conversations about food that I think doesn't really get talked about a whole lot, which also plays itself into, the health industry and healthcare and all these different things, which we could be here for a long time talking about. I'm very passionate about these things. It's not just sports. So I would hope we can have these conversations. And if anyone would like to join in on that, by all means, we can do that. Otherwise, I'm always happy to start that conversation. Um, definitely a future episode to look forward to for the people out there. But last match of match day 6, Austria, Jordan at 9 p.m. We've talked about it in the lead up to the tournament, in the first couple of days of the tournament. I don't know how other people feel about this. I can only speak on my own behalf, but inject that shit into my veins. I love it. I wish every day had 9 p.m. matches. Give me more of that. Um, I honestly can't wait for Austria, Jordan at 9 p.m. It's going to be a doozy. Pac-12 after dark. You know what? The AFC's been great so far. The African countries have done really great for themselves. Uh, I think Senegal, Iraq, Algeria, and Jordan, I think they're all going to make their nations proud, and I think they're going to battle the same way that countries like we mentioned before, whether it's Cape Verde, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Cote d'Ivoire. We go down the list here. Japan, Korea. I have a feeling that these nations will be made proud and will continue to get more results that might shock some people. But that's the beauty of the World Cup. It's not just cut and dry. These are the best teams. These are the teams that are going to win it. Maybe they still do, but at least making it tough on them. Making them really work for it. So I can't wait. Like I mentioned, to see what Malik's got with France and Senegal. I hope he's having a great time. Uh, and then I hope everybody out there enjoys these 4 matches for all their beauty. And who knows? Maybe we'll get another day of even better results than match day, not match day, of day 5 of the World Cup. So maybe Iraq, Senegal, Algeria, Jordan, they're able to get a result or make things tough, or maybe even get 3 points. Can't wait to come back and recap it all. And, you know, we'll be right back here. We'll be locked in for it. So stay tuned with us throughout the World Cup here at the Unfiltered Report. We're going to continue to, give some love to all 48 countries at the World Cup. Do our best to cover the matches. Give some love to to the managers, the players, the supporters in the stands. I'm hoping it's another day of packed houses and great atmospheres. And cheers to it all. Enjoy the beautiful global game of football here in North America, US, Canada, and Mexico. Stay safe out there, everyone. Give the people you love a hug. Talk to random people you never met before and get to know them. And most of all, stay safe. Peace and love, everybody. My name is Ryan. Until next time, stay tuned.